You ever get that feeling that we're trying to solve our biggest problems with, well, outdated tools? Things like climate change, misinformation. They're all connected, but the way we try to fix them, it's often scattered, siloed, and just not working. So let's dive into a blueprint that's designed to change all that. It's called Phoenix, and it's a totally new way of looking at planetary collaboration.
Okay, so to really get what Phoenix is all about, you've got to look at the problem in a new way. The sources for this explainer say we're not actually facing a bunch of separate crises. What we're really in is a polycrisis, a single, deep down failure of coordination. Our systems just aren't built to handle threats that are all tangled up together.
And this image, wow, it really says it all, doesn't it? We're standing at this massive fork in the road. One path is just more of the same, more fragmentation. But the other path, that one leads toward regeneration, toward coherence. The choice we make right now is going to define everything that comes next. So here's the bottom line. The real issue is a systemic misalignment. Think about it. Our economic models, our governments, even our day-to-day habits, they were built for a totally different time, an era of competition and extraction. They just aren't equipped for the complex, interconnected world we're living in today. Okay, so if the problem is this massive lack of coordination, what's the fix? Well, the architects behind Phoenix have this really powerful idea, this metaphor. What if we could build a planetary nervous system? A way for all of us to sense, connect, and respond to global challenges with, some real collective intelligence. And this is it, the Phoenix World Transformation Platform. Now, this isn't another top-down bureaucracy or some single app you download. Think of it more like a shared infrastructure, an ecosystem that's designed to kickstart a whole new era of what the source material calls conscious collaboration. So, what does a planetary nervous system actually do? Well, just like in our own bodies, it lets all the different parts talk to each other. It helps us see how one action over here affects the whole system over there. It helps us share information we can actually trust. And, crucially, coordinate our efforts so they build on each other instead of just canceling each other out. Okay, living system. Sounds cool, right? But what does that actually mean? How does it work under the hood? Well, Phoenix is built from several core functions and these deeply interwoven subsystems that make the whole vision possible. So let's peel back the layers and take a look. To wrap your head around this pretty complex architecture, it's easiest to think of it in three main parts. First, you've got the intelligence layer, which is all about making sense of the world. Second, there's the connection layer for learning and building community. And third, you have a governance layer, which is like the ethical foundation holding the whole thing together. Right at the heart of that intelligence function is something they call the synergy engine. You can basically think of it as the platform's brain. Its whole job is to be this alignment intelligence layer, a kind of global scale project management tool that helps us see how everything connects. I mean, imagine an open source Google Maps, but instead of mapping streets, it maps how an effort to save the Amazon might be connected to supply chains in Asia. And this is where it gets really practical and, frankly, pretty exciting. With a map like that, we can finally see who's doing what and where. We can stop wasting so much time and energy on efforts that are just repeating what someone else is already doing. It helps us spot the best places to act, those key leverage points, and lets everyone learn from each other and get better, way, way faster. But a brain is nothing without a heart and all the connective tissue, right? That's where Phoenix's educational and networking parts come into play. And we're not talking about old school classrooms here. These are frameworks for human development, for building real networks of trust that link up communities and organizations all over the world. The whole goal here is change education from this separate thing we do to something that's just woven into our lives, our communities, and our sense of purpose. It's all about empowering everyone, no matter their age, to contribute to our collective well-being and making sure that knowledge and resources can flow to exactly where they're needed most. And of course, absolutely none of this works without trust. So Phoenix introduces a totally new model for governance. This isn't your typical, rigid, top-down control. It's treated like a living, breathing practice that really forms the ethical bedrock of the entire platform, making sure all this technology stays transparent and actually serves life. This governance is really clever. It's built on three layers that are all woven together. The planetary conscious layer, that's like the moral compass. The relational cooperative layer is all about building trust between actual people. And then the technological operational layer, which even includes an AI governance layer, provides the ethical guardrails for the digital tools. Together, they create a system that's designed from the ground up to be both wise and trustworthy. So, when you put all of these pieces together, the intelligence, the connection, the governance, what you get is this huge paradigm shift. It's a move away from the rigid, boxy structures of the past and toward a much more fluid, living, breathing model of how we can organize ourselves. I love this slide because it just lays it all out so clearly. We're moving from a world of boxes, siloed, fragmented, always competing, to a world of symbiosis, a world that's interconnected, collaborative, and ultimately regenerative. It's about working with the patterns of life, not against them. It's a system that's designed to be the connective scaffolding for our entire civilization. It doesn't come in and replace what's already there. Instead, it connects and aligns and orchestrates everything, weaving together the efforts of individuals, communities, and institutions into one coherent, healthy global ecosystem. And this brings us right back to the ultimate purpose. The goal of this whole incredible architecture isn't just to put out fires or fix problems. It's to fundamentally shift our focus toward creating the conditions for all life, human and non-human, to truly flourish for generations and generations to come. This quote from the source material just hits so hard. It frames our current situation not as some technical problem to be solved, but as a deep, fundamental choice about the kind of world we actually want to live in. So, what does all this mean for us right now? Well, the Phoenix platform isn't being presented as some perfect, finished answer. It's more like an evolving invitation to build the future of collaboration together. And that really gets to the core of it. Phoenix isn't really about the tech. The tech is just a tool to support a much, much deeper transformation. It's about a maturation of our entire species. It's an invitation to consciously evolve from what the source material calls an extractive adolescence into a regenerative adulthood. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative question. The tools and the blueprints for a more collaborative world, they're starting to show up. So the real question is a human one. Can we unlearn those deep reflexive habits of competition and control to remember how to work together in true symbiosis? The answer to that question is going to shape everything